Travelers, Boardman21 here, and today I got the 1 to 75 leveling guide for you for Sentinel to Paladin. We're going to base this around using Shield Throw and using a two-handed staff for the adaptive spell damage, so we're going to also have Smite being used, and then we're going to have the Fire Burst or Fire Blast on Shield Throw. That's going to allow you to do an AoE and do more spell damage. With this build, you'll get to 1 to 75 no problem. After that, you can continue on using this build, or if there's another build that you've seen from another content creator on the Paladin, you can feel free to transfer over at that point or at any point before, as long as you feel like you're ready to transition. As with all the leveling guides that I've done, this will stop at regular intervals. We'll stop for the specialization slots or whenever I've stacked up and accumulated enough skill points and passives, and then I'll go over exactly where I'm putting them, why I'm putting them there, and show you both the passive skill tree, the skill trees, and then also the character sheet. There will also be a written guide. It'll be in the description below with a link to it. It'll have a build planner for each of the spots that I stopped, as well as at the end it'll have a build planner of exactly what I have when I finish the 1 to 75 campaign, and it will also have an optimized gear build planner for what you would most want for that. There will also be a loot filter, which is more strict than it has been before, so be careful. It's only going to show you things that are really meant for your build. Alright, let's go ahead and get into it.
I am the Sentinel. I spent my youth working the forges under Solaran, helping to arm the holy armies of R'yeh. When I came of age, I was conscripted into the Golden Army and sent to war, wielding the very weapons I helped create. What I found on the battlefield was chaos and the slaughter of innocents. I deserted R'yeh's army, refusing to be a part of this destruction. Now I travel the land of Eterra, warning its people of R'yeh's wrath.
Alright travelers, I am now level 4 and we opened up our first specialization slot. I haven't found any gear yet, so nothing's changed on the character sheet other than what you're just going to naturally have. But for our skills, for the first one, we're going to go ahead and spec into Lunge. It's going to be a little bit before we get Shield Throw. It's going to be even a little bit longer before we get Smite, but we'll probably put those into our second and third skill slots. As soon as we open them up, we need some passive points to get into them. So we're going to start with Lunge. It's something that we'll probably use the entire time. It's going to give us increased crit chance, increased armor, invulnerability while lunging, so it's really nice to have. Plus, it's a movement skill, which is going to help you speed through the game. So we're just going to go ahead and start off with that. And the very first point is going to go into Tactician, which is going to reduce the cooldown of it so that you can use it faster, more often. And it increases the mana efficiency, so it'll cost a little less for you. But the first thing we're going to get into is Initiative, which is going to increase, it's going to give you a buff for 4 seconds to increase your damage and your crit chance. And altogether, you'll get 40% increased global damage, all damage types. And you'll get up to 240% crit chance, which takes your 5% base, is going to boost it to about a 17 to 18% crit chance, which is a huge amount that you can get really early in the game, just from lunging every 4 seconds. For passives, we've got 2 passive points that we're going to go ahead and throw in, and we're going to put both of them into Juggernaut. This is going to be for the strength, and then it's going to give us some fire resistance and void resistance. Void resistance is a very powerful early game. It's going to be the main damage type that you encounter all the way up to Edoras Temple and to the end of time when you reach there for the first time. So very powerful to get those early. The reason we're not going with the melee physical damage, again, is because we're not going to be building into melee physical damage. We're going to be building into spell damage and doing spell damage with Shield Throw and Smite and basing most of our damage just off of that. Alright, let's go ahead and get back into it. Alright, travelers, I am now level 10. I was going to wait a bit longer because we haven't unlocked Shield Throw yet, but we're just going to go ahead and put into Warpath now until we get Shield Throw, which will be in the next update. Otherwise, it gets a little slow, so you might as well do a little extra damage with Warpath since we're using it two-handed anyway. With my character sheet, you can see that we started to have some elemental. We've had quite a few uniques drop. We haven't gotten any physical, poison, or necrotic yet, but we have stacked a little bit of void. For my skills, I'm going to go ahead and throw 3 more points into lunge. One of them will go into tactician, one of them will go into initiative, and then one of them into Avenger's Charge for that crit chance. And then for the next skill that we will specialize, we're going to go with Warpath, but I'm going to go ahead and switch that with Shield Throw as soon as I get Shield Throw. This is just to increase the damage we do with Warpath to clear up the trash mobs until we get Shield Throw. I'm going to go ahead and throw the first 2 points both into Reckless Combatant, so that we'll do 30% more melee damage since we are using a two-handed staff at the moment. For passives, we got 7 more passive points. I'm going to go ahead and throw 6 of them into Juggernaut. Cap out, we'll get some strength, that'll give us some damage for now. It also gives us a lot of fire and void resistance. We have 1 more point and going to throw it into Armored Clad. We'll go ahead and cap this out next so that we take less damage from nearby enemies. That's going to be it from this update. I will see you guys in about 5 levels when we unlock Shield Throw. Alright, travelers, I am now level 15. We've picked up a lot of void resistance. We have quite a bit of elemental as well. We're starting to work on physical a bit, and then obviously we'll get some necrotic and poison later. But right now, elemental, physical, void, that's what we're working on. We got about 19% armor. As a sentinel, you're naturally going to have higher armor than most other classes, so we're going to also build up on this a bit. And then for skills, we are now at the point where we can unlock our shield throw, so we're going to do passives first. And with that, we're going to use 4 of them in armor clad to maximize the armor clad and take that reduced damage from nearby enemies. And then we have 2 more points. I'm going to throw both of them into a fearless. That does unlock shield throw. We'll go back to skills. We're going to unspec our warpath, despecialize it, build into shield throw. And then for shield throw, the first things that you're going to want to get into is the eruption. You're going to want the lava burst for damage, and you're going to want the reduced damage and get down to where you can cast it again without waiting for the cooldown. So we're going to go with 1 point in ricochet, 1 point in eruption, and 1 point in polished steel. Then we have 2 more points for lunge. Both of them are going to go into Avenger's Charge. That's going to be it for this update. I will see you guys at level 19 when we unlock our 3rd specialization slot. Alright, travelers, I'm now level 20. We're still deathless. We've gotten a little bit more armor. We're about 4% higher at 23% damage reduction for physical and half that for all the other elements. We've almost capped our void resistance, but at this point, as we go into the temple and as we're going to take on to the end of time, void, while still probably the most important element, you'll want to start getting some necrotic and physical because those are the two you're going to hit right after, and if you have 0 going into it, you're going to have a hard time, especially against the Death Knights that spawn up in the necrotic turtles. For skills, we got 2 more points for lunge. Both of them are going to go again into Avenger's Charge. Then I've got 3 points for shield throw. I know it only shows 1, but it's because I put a couple points in. But all 3 of them will go into Polished Steel, so you'll now have 4 of 4 there. And basically you want to get to this focused campaign and get to Shield Barrage as fast as possible. I'm hoping I can get 2 more points before I take on the Temple boss, because you're going to have that cooldown right now, which right now it's sitting at a 2-second cooldown, but it feels like forever in between casts. So by getting 1 point in focused campaign, your number of ricochets will be halved, but you'll be able to cast every time the shield comes back, so you'll have non-stop damage coming in, and then once you get a point in Shield Barrage, you're going to be able to cast it as fast as you can, which is very helpful, because now we're going to get into Smite, and Smite's going to give you increased attack speed. But before we can put Smite in, we need to do our passives. I got 5 more passive points, and all 5 of them are going to go into Time and Faith, and this is because you'll get 25 health gain and 10 mana back. Not that we need a mana generator, but when we manually are casting Smite, it's going to give us a lot of health back as well. And it's just going to allow you to have extra survivability, especially right now while Shield Throw is on cooldown. Then we'll go back and we're going to specialize into Smite. We'll go ahead and put in, and our first 4 points, 1 will go in Holy Wave, and 3 will go in Righteous Fury. And then we're going to put 5 points in Righteous Flurry, so we can get that 50% increased attack and cast speed. It'll let you cast Smite faster, it'll let you attack with Shield Throw faster. And that'll be it for this update. I will see you guys at level 25-ish when we do the Mastery pick. Alright, travelers, I'm now level 25. We are at the mastery choice. Remember, this is not going to be changeable later, so whichever mastery you pick, this is permanent. For the character sheet, as you can see, we've been getting our void is still about the same. Physical has gone up. We've gotten quite a bit more physical, got a couple of tier 3s for that, and then we got a little bit of necrotic. Armor stayed about the same, but we're now building into lunge and getting armor percentage increase whenever we lunge. And then on our gear, we're going to have a couple of things that have flat armor, and then in our passives we'll have things that proc when we get hit that will give us more armor. And we're almost at the point for shield throw where we can get more flat armor per ricochet, which will be really nice. So for now, we'll go to the mastery first. We'll go ahead and pick the paladin, choose mastery. Yes, I want to be a paladin. Then for passives, we're going to do passives first. We want 5 points in the Forge Guard first because I want to use Ring of Shields. I want to make sure that's unlocked for my next skill specialization slot, which will be at level 34. But this is going to help you. You'll be able to ricochet your shield throw off of the Ring of Shields. So you'll have shields surrounding you. You'll throw your shield, and if you're doing single targets, which is where your damage lacks, it's going to be able to ricochet. The reason ricochets are important is even though we can now cast as many shields in a row as we want, you're going to be at a point where the fire burst only happens on a ricochet, so you need at least one ricochet to get that fire burst damage, which as a spell damage build for shield throw is where all the damage is going to be. So we're going to put 1 point in Steel Aegis just for a small percentage of block chance, just a little bit of extra survivability, and then 4 points in Battle Hardened, and this will give you your physical resist and increased armor whenever you get hit. It's a nice percentage, so it's just nice to have, but that'll unlock the Ring of Shields. Then we'll go to the Paladin. We have 2 points here, and both of them are going to go in Defiance. Attunement is what's going to be scaling our damage, plus it gives us more mana, and then of course Elemental Resist is always nice to have as well. Getting into the skills, for lunge I had 1 more point, went ahead and threw it in Forge On. This will now give us 25% increased armor and stun avoidance for 2 seconds after we have lunged. You can lunge every 2.5 seconds, so it's almost 100% uptime of that armor. Shield throw, went ahead with 3 more points. 1 point when in focus campaign, 1 point when in shield barrage. This is going to allow you to just constantly spam it now, and it reduced the mana cost, so it doesn't cost very much. You will have half the number of ricochets, but that's okay for now. We'll build into those later. And then 1 point in Magma Rage, so that the Lava Burst does 30% more damage. And we're going to be building into that, as well as building into armor granted on Ricochet. And then as we near the end of the campaign, we'll get into more Ricochets so that you can have a few more of them. One thing you will want when you get Ring of Shields is you will want 1 point in Aegis, so that you can target your allies. This will allow you to target your shields, so you can get some ricochets and get the fire burst explosions. And then for Smite, 4 more points. All 4 of them went into Righteous Flurry. So when we cast this, we now get 40% increased attack and cast speed. That does count throwing speed. That's why it's important. It allows you to throw shields much faster. And that's going to be it for this update. I will see you guys at level 34 when we unlock the 4th skill specialization slot. Alright, travelers, I am now level 34. We're still deathless. We have about 450 HP. We've capped down our physical, really working on our necrotic and our elemental right now. That's going to be the next most important elements that we come up against. We still have about 23% armor. We have gained some, but of course, as you go up in levels, it scales down compared to the area that you're in. And then at the same time, a lot of our armor comes whenever we've lunged, or when we have a ring of shield down, or when we ricochet. That's where our armor is going to come from, so it actually gets much higher than that when we're actually in combat. For skills, we got 3 more points for lunge. Going to go ahead and put all 3 of them into Forge On. So now we'll get 100% more armor when we lunge for 2 seconds, and of course that cooldown's still 2.5 seconds, so it's almost 100% uptime. It's 80%. Then for shield throw, we did find a helm that came with +1 shield throw, so we got 1 extra level with that. There's actually 4 points here, but I already put 1 into Aegis to kind of help through those bosses and rares that we've come up against so that we could bounce it off the shield. So you want 1 point in Aegis, and then you have 3 more points. We're going to put 1 into armoring Aegis, so you'll start to get 40 flat armor for every ricochet that you do. And then 2 points is going to go into Magma Rage. This is going to give you a lot more damage with Lava Burst. Then with Smite, we got 3 more points. 1 will go in Righteous Flurry, and then we're going to go ahead and put 2 of them in Sacrifice. So what this is going to do is it's going to make Smite hit much harder, but it is going to cost a portion of your life, but you don't cast it that often, so it's not a big deal. And we are still looking for the idols that have a % chance to proc Smite when you're doing your throwing attacks. Those will be what kind of makes Smite more go off all the time. Right now, you just have to remember to cast it whenever you need the attack and cast speed. And then for our 4th skill, we're going to go ahead and go with Ring of Shields. And the first thing that we're going to want to get into this is getting the duration up so that you have it up all the time, so you don't only have, like right now it's only up about 80% of the time, and what that leads to is there's some downtime of it, and in single boss fights it means that you do less damage for a small portion of time, which gets kind of annoying. So we're going to go with 2 points in banding, and then 3 points in enduring defense. And with 3 points here, you're going to have 100% uptime of it. The next thing that we're going to want to work towards, you are going to want to get more shield and then get that armor on heal. So when it heals you, you're going to get up to 50% more armor at all times. That'll increase your survivability. You can go block chance if you want. We do have block chance a little bit. We're not wearing a shield, so we're not really building into that strongly, but having some block chance is always better than having none. And of course, down the road, we'll convert to fire and we'll get this extra fire damage, which comes with spells and attacks. It's going to help Smite and Lava Burst do more damage. Of course, this only lasts for 4 seconds, so you only have about 30% uptime of it, 25 to 30% uptime of it. So not a big deal, but this will increase your damage later down the road. And then for passives, we got 13 more points. We're going to put 1 in Honor, just for that 2% block chance. Then we're going to put 6 more in Defiance. This will increase your attunement, which gives you more mana. It's going to make you do more damage with your skills because we're based off attunement. And then, of course, the Elemental Resist. And then 6 more points. All of them are going to go into Conviction. And the reason for this is you want that fire penetration. And, of course, the fire damage is also nice. And that's going to be it for this update. I will see you guys around level 40-41 for the next update. Travelers, we are still deathless. In fact, we are quite tanky. There hasn't even been a couple of close calls. And we have about 500 health. We're level 40. And then for our resistances, we're still capped on physical. We've almost capped all of our elemental, which is going to come into use here pretty quickly. We're about to take on the gods at the Immortal Citadel, and then we'll move on to a fire element, and we already have it capped, so that's great. A lot of that's due to Hoi Aura. You don't need to spec into Hoi Aura or even use it. Just put it on your skill bar, and you'll get some elemental resistance. Still working on Necrotic, and that'll come in our passive points basically right now when we go into that. We still have about 20% armor. This, of course, skyrockets up as you get more ricochets, as you lunge, as you have Ring of Shields, and that's how you get armor. We have no dodge. And then for damage types, we did find a tier 5 staff, which was awesome, so we got up to almost 200% fire damage, which really boosted our damage. Then for skills, we got one more point for lunge. Gonna go ahead and throw it into unstoppable, so when we do lunge, we are invincible. For shield throw, one more point. Gonna go ahead and throw it into Magma Rage for another 30% more damage. Then for smite, we got 2 more points. Gonna go ahead and throw one of them into Atonement and one of them into Conviction, and then we're gonna be working into the deep impact for that higher crit multiplier. When we do crit with smite, we are gonna have pretty decent crit chance, even though we're using a 2-handed staff. So it's gonna be, you get a lot of base inside the skill tree, so it's going to be really easy to get a crit with it, and we're going to make sure it does a lot of damage when it does come down. Was lucky enough to find 2, not just 1, but 2 smite idols in since the last update, which was absolutely crazy. They're in the gameplay. If you go to that right before this video, it'll show that, because it was pretty crazy that both of them dropped. And then we have Ring of Shields. We got 6 more points. Going to throw 1 into Reinforcement. I don't want to go with 2 shields, because the more shields you have, the more your shield's going to ricochet on them, and you don't want to use up all the ricochets on your shield. But I do want that 50% armor, so we're going to put 1 point into Healing Shields, and then 4 points into Phalanx, and this is 2 points into Healing Shields, and then 3 points into Phalanx, which will give us 30% armor on heal, which is really nice, and it does not stack, so when you get healed again, you're basically getting healed and it disappears, but you can have 100% uptime of it, which is nice for that armor bonus. For passives, we got 9 points. Going to go ahead and put 2 more in Conviction to finish it off, and then 7 points in Holy Symbol. This is going to give us 49% necrotic resistance, and as I was saying, we were going to get our necrotic. Look at that. It actually capped us out perfectly just with those 7 points in there. Next, we're going to work into getting the critical strike avoidance and increased armor from Faith Armor. That's going to be it from this update. I will see you guys at level 49 for the 5th skill specialization slot. Alright, travelers, I'm now level 50. I just got to Lilith, and then we'll take on Lagon. Those boss fights will be right after this update. I'm sitting at pretty much capped all resistance except for poison. We don't have any poison. Got about 19% armor. Again, that goes up as we use our ricochets and our ring of shields and our lunge. All of those increase it. For damage, we're still at about 200% fire damage. We have 200% spell damage, and basically with the staff that we have, we just hit level 50. I can now wear the Woodland Staff, so it comes with quite a bit of adaptive spell damage, and that's what's going to allow us to do a lot of damage here. And you've probably noticed at this point that it's starting to take off damage-wise. You're just absolutely annihilating the maps. You've been killing bosses extremely quickly, and it's actually turning into a lot of fun. For skills, got 2 more points for Lunge. 1 point will go into Tactician, and then 1 point will go into the Fray for some more area when you lunge in and hit. 2 points for Shield Throw. 1 will go in Magma Rage to go ahead and cap out that Lava Burst hit damage, and then 1 point will go into Ricochet for an extra Ricochet. Remember, they are reduced by half, so you get 2 ricochets to start with, and then we've added 2 for 4, and half of 4 is still 2. So until we get 1 more, you won't get that 3rd one, but we will work our way towards Hemren's technique just to get 1 more ricochet. Then we have Smite. 2 more points for Smite, gonna put both of them in Deep Impact for that critical strike multiplier. For Ring of Shields, 2 more points in Felix for that armor on heal, 1 point in banding, and then 1 point in molten shields. And now we're going to work into our last 5 points being touched by a fire, which will give us 15 more flat fire damage with our spells and attacks for 4 seconds after using Ring of Shields. So that's really going to be a big boost of damage there. And before we unlock the 5th skill, at this point, most people will do Holy Aura, and you can do Holy Aura. However, I like Volatile Reversal for boss fights. It makes you just start flinging shields out. Absolutely ridiculous with the amount of attack speed that you can get with it. So I'm actually going to go with Volatile Reversal. So we'll go to passives real quick. I'm going to put 5 points in the Void Knight. All 5 points are going to go into Abyssal Endurance. This will give me some Void Resist and Physical Resist. It's also going to unlock a Volatile Reversal. I've got 6 more points. All of them will go into the Paladin. 1 point is going to go into Inner Flame. This will give me attunement and fire resist, and then 5 points into Faith Armor. This will give me some critical strike avoidance as well as increased armor. The next 10 points are going to go into Holy Precision so that we can get 300% spell and throwing critical strike chance, which is huge. Really going to boost your critical strike damage this way, or your chance to do critical strike damage through this passive. Then back to skills. We're going to go ahead and do Volatile Reversal, and what I'm really wanting is this attack and cast speed, and technically the attack speed affects throwing attack speed, so this is going to give us a big boost. So we're going to put 1 point in Time Sap, and then 3 points in Warped, and now every time that I use Volatile Reversal at the moment, it takes you back in time 2 seconds, so for 2 seconds I'll get 30% boost of attack speed. But then I'm going to go ahead and put 2 points in Traveler's Fatigue and 1 point in Ancient Reversal, so now it lasts for 3 seconds. So for every time that I've gone back in the last 3 seconds, I'm going to get 30% throwing speed. And then we're going to get that to 4 seconds. Then we're going to go ahead and cap out the mana, take off the HP, and what that's going to do is reduce the cooldown so you can use it over and over and over again and get multiple stacks of this attack speed inside the last 4 seconds, which is going to allow you multiple stacks of that 30% throwing speed, which is just huge for the build. And that's going to be it for this update. I will see you guys at around level 55. Alright, travelers, I'm now level 55. We're still deathless. We're about to take on the Abomination. We're just stacking up a streak of echoes right now to get some good drops. You'll see that we are just about capped on everything except for necrotic and poison. We did get some poison in. Armor's still sitting around 20% on the flat amount. This, again, goes up every time that we use shield throw, which we're starting to get our attack speed up on that, so we're getting even more. We're able to get up to about 40-45% damage reduction when we're actually in combat. We have about 275% fire damage, 200% spell damage, and still the 200% critical strike multiplier. For skills, we got one more point for lunge, gonna go ahead and throw it into the fray. One more point for shield throw, gonna go ahead and throw it into Ironmonger. We're gonna try and get 3 points in here, and then we'll have another point or two that we can throw into Hemron's technique. And then we have one more point for smite. Gonna go ahead and throw this one also into deep impact. For ring of shields, one more point. We're gonna go ahead and throw the last 5 that we have for this in touched by fire for that flat added damage to spells and attacks. For 4 seconds after we use ring of shields. Volatile reversal, we have 8 more points. Gonna go ahead and throw 1 into time lost wisdom, 1 more into ancient reversal, 1 more into time sap, 1 into time lost vitality. Then we're going to throw 1 in Terminal Void Rift, 1 in Incipient Void Rift, and then 2 points into Catching Up for some more move speed, which also stacks every time that you Volatile Reversal in the last 4 seconds. Now with 1 more point in time step, we'll have basically the max amount of cooldown reduction that we're going to have. Right now the cooldown is 2.4 seconds. Every time we get a kill, that goes down, but with 2.4 seconds, it means that you'll almost have 100% uptime of 2 stacks as long as you're constantly using it, which means 60% increased attack speed, along with Smite's 50% increased attack speed. That's a lot of attack speed. You're going to be throwing shields really, really fast. Then for passives, we got 6 more points. I'm going to go ahead and throw all 6 of them into Holy Precision, so that we can start to critical strike as much as we can with our throwing shield and with the Flame Burst and Smite for that spell critical strike as well. That's going to increase your damage. The more crits you do, the more crit multi that's used, the more damage that you're going to do. And you probably have noticed at this point, damage is really not a problem at all. You are just absolutely flying through echoes and just doing a lot of damage. And that'll be it for this update. I'll see you guys at level 65. Alrighty, travelers, I am now level 65. We are still deathless. We have just about 850 HP. Still working on capping all the resistances, although we're getting fairly close. Our armor has dropped a little bit again. It's more active. It's much higher when you're in active combat. And then for damage, we're still at about 200% spell damage, almost 300% fire damage. And then for defense stats, we do have some critical strike avoidance now. We've got a bit more endurance, so we're a little bit more protected against one-shots. Obviously, it hasn't happened yet since we're still deathless, but going into this Rhea fight, that's something I was worried about, is getting one hit if I accidentally stand for too long. So we do have some damage reductions against that. Then for skills, we got 2 more points for lunge. Both of them are going to go into the fray. Then we got 2 more points for shield throw. I'm thinking about changing out my helm. Might lose one of those points, but right now we still got 2 points. Going to put both of them into Ironmonger, and that way we've unlocked the Hermann's technique. And we're going to go ahead and put both our last 2 points into that. For Smite, got 2 more points. Going to throw both of them into Atonement for that base crit chance. And we're not worried about losing the cast speed since we're not manually casting it. For Ring of Shields, we have 2 more points. Going to go ahead and throw both of them into Touched by Fire. Like I said, we're going to max that out. And then for Volatile Reversal, 1 more point in Catching Up, 1 more point in Time Sap. And then if you don't like Volatile Reversal, which I love it, especially for bosses, it really makes them go much faster. I don't really use it at all on the Echoes, but you can switch it out for like Sigils of Hope if you want, or like I said earlier, Holy Aura is another good choice. For passives, you got 10 more points. Going to go ahead and throw 3 of them in Faith Armor to cap that out. With some more critical strike avoidance, some more armor. 4 more points in Holy Precision is going to cap that out so that we have the 300% spell critical strike chance and throwing critical strike chance. And then 3 more points, going to throw all 3 of them in Reverence of Duality. This gives more health, more damage, more mana, and some healing effectiveness, although we're not really using that. And then our next 12 points are all going to go into Light of Rhea. This gives us a lot more fire damage since we're built completely into fire damage. And then it also gives us move speed, which will help us pick up speed, especially through the Echoes. That's going to be it for this update. I will see you guys at level 75. Alright, travelers, time for the final update. I am now level 75. We've beaten Rayot. We did die once to Rayot. I knew that was coming. And we are almost to the point where we can take on Lagon. The quest echo is there, but we're still going up the streak. Kind of wanted to get a little bit more gear, gain a few levels. So we're at level 75 now. We have about 1100 life. We still haven't capped all of our resistances, mostly because on some of my gear I've been focusing on other things. We actually got quite a bit of fire damage on a few different things because we lost it on our staff as we went for a different one once the sorcery staff became available. We took that for the maximum adaptive spell damage that you can get, which made our damage just kind of go through the roof. So we kill things extremely quickly, as you have seen in the gameplay up till this update. And for the most part, we're just stacking spell damage, fire damage, and a little bit of elemental damage over time. Doesn't hurt anything if you have that, but you won't get as high if you just go straight with fire damage. And we have a lot of spell crit. But we're still sitting at about 26% armor. We gained quite a bit of armor with some of the gear choices that we made, so our flat armor is just over 900 now. And once we get the Ring of Shields up, we lunge and we have Ring of Shields, you're actually getting up over 40% damage reduction. Let me see if I can do all of that right here real quick by trying to fire. We won't get any ricochets, so we're not going to be able to do that. But you can see, yeah, you can get up to like 50% relatively easily. So it's a lot of damage reduction with that, the way we have it set up. No dodge. And then for the skills, one more point in lunge. Going to go ahead and put it into double strike. You do have one more point. You can put it anywhere that you want when you hit it. For shield throw, we got one more point. Going to go ahead and put it into Hemrin's technique, and the final point will also go here. For smite, one more point. Going to put it into atonement, and then your choice. You probably have really close to 100% crit with it now. You can put the final point either in here, or you can put it in the crit multi, or if you want to do more damage, you can put it into sacrifice. Since we're not having an explosion of it, you don't miss too much health, and you tend to leech all of it back since we have quite a bit of leech as well. For Ring of Shields, we got one more point. It's going in touched by fire. So will the 5th point. And then for Volatile Reversal, we have 2 more points. And you can either build into the enemy damage taken or somewhere else on the tree, but this is my favorite, so we're going to go ahead and put 2 points in Dark Expanse for the Void Rift area increase. And then eventually what I'll do is I'll take the points out of move speed and put them into Harbinger of Death. Since I don't really use the move speed, usually when I'm using Volatile Reversal, I'm not actually running somewhere. So I'm going to take those points out. I'll put him in here, so when I Volatile Reversal on top of a boss, he will then take 30% increased damage. I think that's a more modifier. And then for passives, we got 10 more points that we're going to go ahead and throw into the Paladin tree. All 10 of them are going to go straight into Light of Rhea. We're going to max this out, and then I'm going to go down and max out Reverence of Duality eventually as you aim towards level 100. This is going to give us 80% more fire damage and 10% more move speed, which is going to help you dodge things, going to help you move through echoes quicker. It's going to give you more damage. That means more leech, so your survivability definitely goes up with this, as well as your DPS. And that's going to be it for this update. As I said in the beginning, you can go ahead and transfer and transition to any build that you found on the tube or on the written guides, or somebody else was doing, one of your friends or something. If not, this build will continue to take you all the way to wave 100, and it does extremely well in the arena as well, especially the more ranged you get. I would probably swap out lunge, don't use it. Maybe get something that's a little more defensive, maybe actually get into the Sigils of Hope or into Holy Aura for a little bit more defense, but you can push it a few hundred waves in the arena for sure, even without min-max gear. Alright, that's going to be it for this leveling guide. Hope you enjoyed it. Hope it made it easy for you to get to level 75 on your Paladin. I know the beginning was a little rough, but as soon as you got the shield throw and you got the cooldown off of it, you were able to just speed things up around level 25, and then it just took off from there. There'll be a little bit more gameplay, and as always, stay safe, travelers.